Under the gloomy, suffocating atmosphere as if swallowed by darkness, the light gradually faded, leaving only the sound of rapid, heavy breathing echoing. The distorted smiles on the faces of the warriors, the battlefield stained red with fresh blood, the bloody glow relentlessly raining down, sparing no escape route. One by one, they fell, but amid the boundary between life and death, faint rays of hope still stubbornly seeped through. In the end, we had come this far, facing the terrifying fury, yet our will still burned fiercely. If we can defeat it, Gray muttered, everything will end too quickly. But at that very moment, a cold light pierced straight through his chest. The pain struck unexpectedly, causing him to freeze, his body trembling as blood gushed from the fatal wound. Gray's eyes became vacant, his dreams seemingly coming to a close. His body lost its weight, his legs gave way, his entire frame collapsing in helplessness. Blood spread red on the ground, surrounded by the bodies that had fallen in despair. He gradually accepted this as the end. Looking at the ruins and his sacrificed comrades, Gray's heart weighed heavy with shame. In the end, will I die without accomplishing anything? His eyes blazed with hatred, directed toward the creature hovering in mid-air. One day, an unnamed calamity had appeared, threatening to wipe out the entire continent. The enemy of humanity, the Purifier, continued to sow destruction. Gray looked at the warrior who was valiantly using a shield to block the attacks, placing his last bit of hope in them. The group of warriors protecting humanity included Brian Miller, the young man who survived the horrifying impact of a meteor, known as the Shield of the World. The green-haired girl, Bella Albright, the great sage with power equal to an army, summoning sparkling magic circles, ready to face any danger. Beside them was Jacob Bloomfield, the archer clad in green armor, each arrow he shot incredibly sharp and precise. He had once taken down a high-level dragon beast with a single shot. His title of Divine Archer was no empty name, and Amy White, the golden-eyed swordswoman, never flinching before danger, with speed that surpassed all obstacles. She was the strongest sword saint in history. Looking at them, Gray felt a surge of inferiority. And he thought bitterly, we are just the support unit, used and then discarded. The cruel truth was harsher than he imagined. They were merely sacrificial pawns. Watching the skilled combat techniques of the warrior group, Gray could not help but admire them. They are on a different level, he thought to himself, witnessing the graduates from the United World Academy easily closing in on the enemy. The gap between him and them became increasingly clear, like an insurmountable abyss. The Purifier was suppressed by Bella's magic orbs. Gray lay trembling on the ground, his heart heavy. Does it matter if the support team is here or not? Meanwhile, Amy continued her assault, her powerful sword strikes making the enemy stagger. The humiliation in Gray's heart reached its peak. We trained hard too, he screamed inwardly. Amy, with terrifying speed, forced the Purifier into constant defense. A final powerful attack wounded him. But instead of fear, he seemed delighted. Oh, you managed to hurt me. His body radiated intense red spiritual energy. Stronger than ever. Not bad. Suddenly, the Purifier created a vortex of sword energy, long blades hurtling forward. In a single move, all the remaining people perished, their bodies sliced apart. The gruesome scene left Gray stunned. Only one villain survived. His pupils contracted in shock. Getting serious now, Gray could not believe it. He had wiped out the entire team with one sword strike, yet until now, he had only been toying with them. He slowly closed his eyes, accepting the cruel reality. There was no way to win. But then, Gray snapped awake. Wait, how long has it been since my heart was pierced? Looking at his reflection in the pool of blood, he wondered, why am I still alive? The sound of dripping blood mingled with a mysterious voice, I have found you. Gray felt as if he were being pulled into another space. Before him was a magical light, opening into a black hole. Come here, possessor of immense power, the voice resounded. Gray, stunned, stepped into a new world, like a desolate city. The wound on his body had healed completely. Where am I? The afterlife. He turned around, feeling as if someone was watching him. A figure in a black cloak, full of mystery, appeared. Who are you? Gray asked. That person was Kranos, his face obscured but exuding an aura of majesty. You are not dead yet, Kranos explained. Your wound has been healed. The ancient magical space enveloped in brilliant golden light left Gray in awe. On the magical screen, his earlier body appeared, covered in injuries. "Did you heal me?" he asked. Kranos calmly replied, "No, that was your own power." Gray touched his chest, still doubtful. "My power," Kranos admitted. "Even I cannot fully analyze your power. But I believe it is even stronger than the purifiers if you learn to control it." Gray remained skeptical. "You mean I can win this battle?" Kranos, cold but resolute. "I make no promises, but I believe we must eliminate him." Before finishing his words, Kranos lunged forward, piercing Gray's chest as before. But this time, a magical circle protected him. "Go," Kranos whispered. "I will lend you my power." Everything unfolded like a dream. Gray returned to the battlefield, his body still lying on the ground. He gripped his sword tightly, struggling to stand. The sword suddenly changed, its tip turning mysterious black, becoming a black sword. Kranos' voice echoed, "This is your power." "My power is not something ordinary people can see." Gray was ready. The noise alerted the purifier. As he turned, Gray closed in, delivering a powerful slash. Dark energy surged within him. The purifier sensed the terrifying magical power. "Impossible," he retreated in shock. "How can someone this strong exist?" Gray did not hesitate, advancing with absolute focus, seeking the enemy's weakness. "Don't underestimate me," the purifier counterattacked. In an instant, Gray's body was sliced apart. He was horrified, watching his body disintegrate, blood spraying everywhere. The purifier gloated, "Impressive, you forced me to use my full power." But from behind, Gray's crimson eyes blazed as if to burn everything. The purifier's body seemed crushed by an invisible force. Gray, enveloped in dark magic, stood majestically in mid-air, holding the black sword. Black smoke from the sword merged with his body. The purifier panicked. "What the hell?" He hastily raised a shield, but it was too late. Half of Gray's face distorted, the black sword now enormous, slashing straight down. The shield shattered, the strike tearing through the purifier's body, leaving a massive gash on the ground. "Are you really human?" the purifier roared in despair. Gray, his voice full of rage, replied, "That should be my question." Before the murderer, he stood tall, like a symbol of survival and vengeance. Suddenly, a wild laugh erupted. Gray quickly stepped back, planting his feet firmly. Despite being slashed with a deep gash, the purifier stubbornly clung to life. He spoke in a hoarse voice laced with astonishment, "You are still alive. Your power truly cannot be underestimated." His breathing was labored, each gasp ragged, blood streaming down. He leaned his face close to Gray's, his eyes flashing with cold menace. "Well, I will crush you over and over until you are dead. No point arguing with a madman." Gray said nothing, only channeling all his strength into a swing of his sword, a razor-sharp slash tearing through the air straight at the purifier. The blade roared, so powerful it shook the enemy's body, widening the gory wounds. A strange golden fluid poured from his body, accompanied by screams of pain mixed with vicious curses. But unexpectedly, the purifier froze. He clasped his hands together, moving slowly as if summoning something from the depths. His body suddenly radiated fantastical beams of light, brilliant like a moon awakening. The wings on his back shifted to iridescent colors, sparkling like a galaxy. His palms faced each other, a magic circle gradually forming, hovering in mid-air, emitting energy that made the atmosphere tremble. Time suddenly warped. Night abruptly fell, enveloping everything in terrifying silence. The purifier muttered in a deep voice foretelling doom, "Time's up." A brilliant moon appeared, its cold silver light shining down. Gray frowned slightly, puzzled. "What is this?" Suddenly it is nighttime. He flashed a sharp smile, unflinching. No one noticed Gray had silently appeared behind the purifier, swift as a phantom. His voice rang out softly, full of challenge. "So what?" Without giving the enemy time to react, Gray delivered a fatal strike straight at his neck. But unexpectedly, the blade struck an invisible barrier, hard as steel. Gray froze, his eyes flashing with shock. The purifier laughed, his voice dripping with arrogance, "Useless. In this realm of imperial dreams, nothing can harm me. Stop resisting pointlessly, Gray. Look at the stars one last time." Gray stood still, not from fear, but because a dazzling light from the sky was hurtling straight toward him. That light, like a meteor, grew larger at terrifying speed, blazing as if to incinerate everything. The purifier's voice slithered into Gray's mind like a malicious whisper. It is beautiful, is not it? That star is now very close. The massive fireball crashed down, exploding right where Gray stood, creating a cataclysmic blast. Everything around turned to ash, earth and stone shattering. The purifier soared upward, gloating as he looked down at the ruins. A deep crater appeared, but Gray's figure was nowhere to be seen. He laughed loudly. You can't regenerate if you have been reduced to dust. But from above, a shimmering magic portal suddenly appeared, leaving the purifier bewildered. What? The portal grew clearer, resembling a giant clock engraved with the word time. A deep voice echoed. It was Kronos. You have gathered truly astonishing power, but this should be enough to send you back. The purifier panicked, his entire body trembling. Impossible. Kronos, calmly seated high above, continued. Can you hear me, wielder of great power? Use all of my strength. I will send you back to the past. The purifier's rage exploded. He roared, Kronos, you bastard. Paying no heed to his fury, Kronos calmly proceeded. This is all I can do for you. The clock of time began to turn backward, its hands rumbling like fate itself. When the hand reached 1, Kronos' voice faded. I entrust the fate of this world to you. Perhaps this is not the end, but a new beginning for Gray. Gray awoke, his body lying on lush green grass. The sky was clear, gentle sunlight sprinkling down. This world was strangely peaceful, as if it had never been ravaged. He slowly sat up, his mind hazy. Where am I? Looking around, the vibrant scenery soothed his heart. In the distance, mountains, forests, houses, and villages appeared, achingly familiar. Geno village, how? He was stunned. Everything felt like a dream, a nostalgic memory of a place he once called home. Geno village, destroyed 15 years ago. How was it still here, alive as if it had never vanished? Kronos' final words suddenly echoed in his mind. Gray jolted. What he said. Did it really happen? Emotion surged, making the scar on his wrist throb. Looking down, he recognized the old wound from days of being bullied and scorned. His body trembled slightly as painful memories flooded back. No, he told himself firmly, I won't let them beat me down again. In the past, Gray had been weak, unable to fight back. They were too strong, and he was powerless. But now, he refused to repeat that fate. Defeating the purifier was no longer a pipe dream. Gray stood up, heading toward the forest, reassuring himself, when I am stronger, I will deal with them. For now, I do not want more injuries. Suddenly, he stopped. In front of him was Belder's group, blocking his path, their faces menacing. Belder spoke in a condescending tone. I have been looking for you. Gray sighed, exasperated. What a nuisance. They tossed him a sword, ordering, take it. Gray did not move, his gaze icy. Seeing this, the group advanced, mocking him, playing dumb, let us have a match. Gray tried to evade, mindful of his unhealed wounds. Oh, a match, sorry, my injuries are not healed yet. Thanks for the invite, but I can't join. Belder and his lackeys had no intention of letting him go. They sneered, their contempt blatant. Belder feigned reassurance, don't worry, the blade's dull, it is safe. Gray stared straight into his eyes, exposing his intent. No matter how dull the blade, it is still a chunk of iron. What if it hits a vital spot? Before he could finish, Belder cut him off harshly. Shut up. He slammed the sword into the ground, his eyes blazing. Do you have the right to refuse? Don't like swords, then fight bare-handed, Belder charged, brimming with confidence. Gray was stunned. He wants to fight me unarmed. What kind of fight is this? In Gray's mind, memories surged. Before the regression, a former military medic had said his swordsmanship never improved due to childhood injuries. Maybe, he thought, my worthless life started here. Unwilling to repeat regrets, unwilling to live a meaningless life, Gray resolved himself. Unexpectedly, instinctively, he dodged Belder's strike. Belder was surprised but did not stop, continuing his assault. Gray evaded again, effortlessly, as if by instinct. That's slow, Belder growled bitterly, attacking furiously, but Gray dodged every swing. He suddenly realized his body was faster, more agile than ever. Belder's group stared in shock. One muttered, the way he moves, like a completely different person. Gray picked up the sword from the ground, gripping it tightly, his eyes blazing. Maybe I do not have the same body as before, but the memories of those battles remain. Belder attacked from above, aiming to finish him. Take this, but Gray countered, the force sending Belder staggering backward. Gray was worried, but this time, for his opponent. He falls from that. Is it okay to fight an amateur like him? He focused, determined not to yield. No, he does not deserve pity. They tormented me just because I could not fight. Gray's eyes turned razor sharp, resolved to change his humiliating past. He swung a slash, knocking Belder's sword flying. Belder panicked. Damn it. How is it so easy? Gray stepped forward, his voice low but commanding. Maybe you have never been trained to parry a sword. He stomped hard, startling Belder. But do not worry, you all taught me that. Gray raised his sword, a cold smile on his lips but eyes burning with hostility. As long as the blade is dull, it is fine to hit someone with it. A horizontal sword slash cut across Belder's shoulder, fresh blood spurting out, sending him into panic. The hot droplets splashed onto his face like a reminder of the throbbing pain. Belder recoiled, clutching his shoulder tightly, howling in agony. The situation had spiraled far beyond Gray's expectations. This incident was not part of his plan. He stared in bewilderment. Hesitating, wasn't the blade supposed to be dull? Doubting himself, Gray raised the sword to inspect it. Indeed, the edge was chipped and marred with cracks. Gray froze, his mind in turmoil. It was clearly dull. If this sword had been sharp, he might have died. But that did not soften him in the slightest. His eyes turned icy, showing no mercy. He swung the sword, smashing it hard across Belder's face. The impact sent blood gushing from his nose, teeth cracking in half. His entire body flung backward, tumbling across the ground. Gray felt no pity, only thinking coldly to himself, I will just keep this dull sword then. He stepped closer, completely dominating the crawling Belder. Gray mocked him in a low, sharp voice. What is wrong, screaming so loudly? Belder trembled, tears welling up, but Gray continued his reprimand without pause. Where's the guy who said a dull sword would be safe? His face relaxed into a faint smile, but his eyes burned with unconcealed rage. It was you, was not it? Gray growled. Belder, terrified, could not utter a word. Just when it seemed he might repent, Belder suddenly turned to his cronies and shouted, What are you standing there for? Get him. The fat one, after witnessing the fight, hesitated visibly, muttering, He is too strong. But the mushroom-headed one remained aggressive, dismissive of everyone, yelling, Charge! Grab him from behind. The whole group rushed forward from all directions, surrounding Gray. He stood tall, his gaze cold and fearless. What is this? Want another round? The mob attacked frantically. But Gray remained unmoved, not flinching an inch. He muttered in a deep voice like fate itself, I was going to let it slide, but now. All that remained were groans of pain. One by one, their faces bruised and battered, they writhed on the ground. Looking at Belder and his lackeys kneeling, Gray suddenly recalled the dark days of his past. Back then, he had trembled before them. He spoke sharply, You are from the Saria swordsmanship dojo, right? Belder did not dare meet his eyes but nodded in admission. The fat one mumbled, We thought we were strong enough, so we have not been going there lately. Gray sighed, helpless at their childish thinking. Strong enough, really? He shook his head, telling himself not to expect too much from the dojo, but it still had value. Resting the sword on his shoulder, Gray ordered, Introduce me to the dojo. It only accepts people through referrals, right? Belder flinched, his eyes filled with humiliation. See, could you ask someone else? If I tell the master I lost, I can't imagine what she will say. Gray slashed the air with his sword, the blade whistling through the wind, startling Belder. Or should we continue our unfinished business? Belder's face darkened, terrified as if chased by a demon. He abandoned his companions, sprinting away, shouting back, I will introduce you, the dojo's this way. His group stared in shock. What? Belder, do not leave us behind. A while later, Belder and his cronies led Gray to a bustling town. Gray asked curiously, Why do you want to go to the dojo? He replied indifferently, This dojo has referrals to the academy, right? Belder, who had skipped classes for days, only vaguely knew, I have heard something like that. Gray nodded, That is why I want to go. The long-haired one chimed in, I think you are already strong enough without the academy. Gray was strict with himself, unmoved by the praise. If I were truly strong enough, how great would that be? Memories of the battle with the purifier flooded back, leaving him pensive. Even the world's strongest team could not touch him. Despite using all his power, Gray had not inflicted any damage. The image of the purifier amplifying his strength spurred him on. How much stronger do I need to be to defeat him? Belder signaled, "We are here." The sole reason Gray came to the dojo was to grow stronger. In that moment, he sensed the dark force, even if just for a second. He recalled training alongside the Sword Saint, moments of absolute focus on swordsmanship. If I had spent more time training under the same conditions as the Sword Saint, the battle's outcome might have been different. Gray suddenly realized his mission upon returning to the past. That must be why Kronos sent me here. A woman's voice snapped Gray back to reality. So, what exactly are you trying to tell me? Belder's group was kneeling on the floor, apologizing. The woman before them, undoubtedly their master, questioned them. You used the tactics I taught you to bully a civilian, and ended up getting beaten senseless. That was Saria, the instructor of the Saria swordsmanship dojo, a young woman with platinum hair covering one eye, her gaze sharp and authoritative. Belder tried to justify himself. It is not like that, we just wanted a spar. Saria erupted in anger, swinging her arm and sending Belder flying. The others trembled. She sternly lectured, "Who gave you an excuse? If beating an unarmed person counts as a spar, then what just happened was also just a spar, right?" Her wooden sword pointed straight at Belder's eye, her look of disappointment unrelenting. "Leave, and never come back. From now on, none of you claim to be students of this dojo." Belder's group slunk away, supporting each other in shame. Saria turned to Gray, kneeling on one knee and saying sincerely, "I am sorry about that. It seems my former students caused you trouble." Gray waved it off, "No need to worry." Grateful for his understanding, Saria got to the point. "I heard earlier you want a referral to the academy." Gray nodded. She pulled a wooden sword from the rack, to apologize for Belder and the others' trouble. "I need to verify your skills before writing the referral letter." She handed the wooden sword to Gray. He accepted it and nodded, "Understood." The two stepped into a match. Saria yielded the first move. "You attack first. Start when you are ready." Gray did not hesitate. "Here I come." He charged with astonishing speed. Saria deftly defended, her eyes never leaving his strikes. She thought to herself, his swordsmanship is highly practical, as if he has been through countless battles. At his age, it is astounding. Gray lowered his stance, attacking from the side. Saria acknowledged, Belder and his group are nowhere near his level. Gray's movements were agile, with no wasted motion, self-taught yet bearing the mark of advanced swordsmanship. Saria grew curious, has anyone taught him? But his strikes are still rough. He is a diamond in the rough. Saria began fighting seriously. It is a shame to end it early, but it is time to wrap this up. She accelerated, but Gray was not outmatched. With keen senses, he dodged her strikes and even kept pace with her movements. Saria was inwardly shocked. How strange, he is not faltering at all. How can he keep up with me? Her body began to tire. But Gray remained steady. She wavered, I only meant to test his skills, why am I going all out now? Gray swung powerfully, forcing Saria to retreat. She startled, just one slash, but why does it feel ominous? The floor cracked under the force of his strike. Saria, both amazed and thrilled, declared, let us end it here. But that confidence quickly vanished as she stared in shock. Her wooden sword had been cleaved in two by Gray. Taken aback by the unexpected turn, Saria could not react in time and could only stammer. Her wooden sword rolled across the cold floor, shattered like proof of her opponent's terrifying power. Seeing the scene before him, Gray thought to himself, this feeling. It is exactly like that time. So I really do possess that power. Suddenly, a sharp pain struck without warning, so intense it brought him to his knees with a loud cry. Noticing Gray's distress, Saria asked worriedly, what is wrong? Are you okay? Gray gritted his teeth, his face twisted in agony, guessing his body could not withstand that immense power. He immediately tried to compose himself, standing up shakily. Hesitantly, he spoke in a weak voice, I am fine. Sweat poured from his forehead as he thought, I can barely stand, I should not overuse this power. Looking at Saria, he wavered, should I tell her about this? Sensing Gray's unusual gaze, Saria frowned, puzzled. After regaining his composure, Gray quickly dismissed the idea. No, better not. Even if I told her, she would not believe me. Besides, I can't even control it myself. Feeling the tension, Gray scratched his head and awkwardly explained, I just got distracted for a moment. Hearing this, Saria fell silent, her eyes betraying disbelief at what she would witnessed. She stared in shock at her broken wooden sword, thinking, snapping my sword with a dull wooden one is impossible. She concluded, he must realize that too. Seeing Saria frozen for so long, Gray grew anxious. He hesitantly asked, is something wrong? The more she observed the small student before her, the more Saria pondered. He is not going to say anything about it. She closed her eyes, her expression serious for a long moment. After thinking, she turned away, walked to the wooden bin, tossed the broken sword inside, and said, all right, you said you want a referral to the academy, right? Hearing the question, Gray tensed and nodded. Yes, I heard you can do that. As soon as the words left his mouth, Saria affirmed firmly, yes, of course I can refer you to the kingdom's most prestigious academy, the Royal Swordsmanship Academy. She paused, hesitated, then added, but I advise you not to go there. Saria's face darkened, her voice lowering as she emphasized, you do not belong there. The words plunged Gray's mood into a dark abyss. He gripped the wooden sword tightly, his mind flooded with bitter thoughts. I know I am not strong enough. In the end, I can't do anything. As if sensing his thoughts, Saria spoke, shattering his despair. The place you should go is the United World Academy. The firm statement left Gray stunned, his pupils contracting in shock. She continued persuasively, the place you need is not the kingdom's most prestigious academy, but the world's most prestigious one. The words jolted Gray, his heart pounding. The United World Academy, isn't that where the Sword Saint and the others came from? Excited, he asked loudly, can someone like me get in there? Saria shook her head, looking helpless. No, you can't. She explained, you have probably realized it yourself, your current body is not fit to be a swordsman. Saria spoke gravely, her eyes assessing him. At the Royal Academy, you could slip by with skill. But at the United World Academy, you can't. How could you reach that level with such a frail body? Unable to refute her harsh words, Gray stammered, yeah, you are right. Disappointment flickered in his eyes, heavy thoughts rising. Everyone there is a monster. With this body, I have no chance. In the dim light of the room, Saria spoke coldly, giving up already, there are still 9 months until the entrance exam. Knowing the remaining time, Gray said confusedly, only 9 months. Saria agreed, yes, probably not enough. But she immediately hardened her tone, resolute, but trust me. Her voice carried a threatening edge, these 9 months are you ready for hell? Gray looked at his palm, answering vaguely, I do not want hell, but I will do it. He clenched his fist over his chest, his voice heroic, for the next 9 months, please take care of me. Hearing the response, Saria smiled triumphantly. Good answer. The atmosphere suddenly grew quiet. Gray trembled as he listened to Saria speak. Her face turned menacing, her voice threatening, let the hellish days begin. Immediately after, images of Gray's grueling months flashed by, intertwined with Saria's stern demeanor. She always shouted, pushing him in every training session. Time flew by. 8 months later, Gray's body was toned and far stronger. Looking at him, Saria mused approvingly, you have grown sturdy. Pride shone on her face, a gentle smile forming as she crossed her arms. I have nothing left to teach you. From now on, walk with confidence. Gray froze, his eyes wide with surprise. But there is still 1 month until the exam. Seeing his shock, Saria explained, in an unfamiliar place, you will face difficulties. It is best to arrive early. She held out a brown pouch. This is travel money and enough for a month's food. Feeling her thoughtfulness, Gray clumsily waved it off. But leaving a month early is not that too soon. Golden sunlight streamed through the window, stretching their shadows. Gray confessed, it feels like you are kicking me out of the village. Saria smiled faintly, her eyes half closed in reassurance. You are overthinking. Suddenly, Gray mentioned something that startled Saria. I heard there is a goblin den nearby, and the village does not have many guards. Saria did not deny it, replying softly, ah, yes, there is one. She turned away awkwardly, explaining gently, but it has nothing to do with us. She smiled, acting composed. The capital will send aid, so we do not need to worry. She reassured Gray, just go take the exam, do not fret. But Gray thought, she is lying. No aid will come to the village. And before the village is destroyed, my master will die. The image of Saria covered in blood, lying motionless on the ground, flashed in Gray's mind. They said she charged into the goblin den alone and was killed. Still, Gray pretended not to know, replying casually, "Got it." His easy agreement made Saria briefly suspicious. Gray placed a hand on his chest, expressing gratitude. "Thank you." His eyes burned with determination and confidence. "I am off." Saria's lips curved into a heartfelt smile as she wished him well, good luck on the exam. After Gray left, Saria quietly ventured into the deep forest. Under the night sky, the faint moonlight grew clearer. A dried skeleton with a sword pierced through its mouth appeared. Saria touched the bloodstain on the ground, muttering, "According to the scout report, they are that way." Suddenly, a voice rang out in the silent night, startling her. "Where are you going?" A familiar silhouette appeared on a high branch, dark as ink. It was Gray. Gray feigned a look of concern and asked, "Master, where are you going?" As she moved forward, a loud call suddenly rang out behind her. "Gray." She turned and saw Saria. Her voice carried suspicion as she asked, "Why are you here? Shouldn't you be on your way to the academy?" Gray leapt down from the branch and replied in a low but sharp tone, "I am the one who should be asking that. I thought you said the capital's army would handle the goblin den." Saria waved her hand and answered, "They said they can't come due to an emergency, so I plan to handle it alone." She added confidently, "One person is enough for me. Thanks to the scout report, I know the den's strength." She sighed, her eyes briefly pensive. The goblin boss is a high-ranked goblin, and there are about 40 to 50 monsters in the den. I will admit, with those numbers, it is a bit troublesome. Gray listened and pondered. A high-ranked goblin, he recalled battles from the past, realizing goblins' strength lay not in physical power but in intelligence and leadership. He spoke up, "If surrounded, fighting alone is no different from suicide." A certainty flashed in his mind. Looking straight at Saria, Gray declared firmly, "If you go alone, Master, you won't return alive, and the village will be destroyed by them." He emphasized, "I have seen that future with my own eyes." Snapping out of his thoughts, he said, "Let me come with you." But Saria stopped him, her voice resolute, "I said one person is enough." Gray did not waver, his eyes determined. "I do not want to miss a chance to gain real combat experience." "Or do you think I will be in the way?" Saria explained. "You know you are not in my way." She thought to herself, "He was stronger than me in the spar." Turning to him, her voice soft but serious, "But who knows how it will go in real combat, especially with a monster den appearing so suddenly." She stated firmly, "For something this dangerous, it is best you wait until you have more real combat experience." But Gray remained steadfast, his voice icy, "So you really want to go alone? Then I have an idea." Saria frowned. "What idea?" Gray stepped closer and declared, "I will fight you and take you down quickly." Then he added powerfully, "Then I will handle the goblins myself." Silence fell. Gray stood quietly, his sword pointed straight at her. Saria did not respond, only smiling faintly. "Fine, I give up." She warned with a serious gaze, "But promise me one thing. No matter what happens, you must return safely." Gray lowered his sword and nodded, agreed. "That was my plan anyway." With that, the two ventured deeper into the forest. "You too, Master, do not die," Gray added, half joking, half serious. The scene shifted to the goblin den. The two walked and talked. The terrain was treacherous, with no escape routes. Gray assessed, "They are confident, setting up a den in a place like this." He observed, "We can't escape either. These monsters are smart, we need to be careful," Gray reminded. Saria nodded, "I know." Her eyes turned cold. The two scouted the situation but saw no sign of the goblin boss. "Probably in the tent," Gray whispered. Saria nodded, "Let us hope we take down a few before the boss shows up." She whispered, "Gray, take out the ones in that direction." Looking at the densely packed goblin camp, they planned their strategy. Saria said, "I will handle this side." The goblins looked grotesque, growling menacingly. Gray replied, "Got it." Saria signaled, "Good. Let us go." A goblin caught their scent and turned. Saria lunged, swinging her sword decisively. The monster's head rolled off. The goblins behind roared in fury. The horde scrambled and charged. On the other side, Gray was no less fierce. He swung his sword lightly, a razor-sharp slash cutting through before the goblins could react. Blood sprayed everywhere in the chaos. Saria held her own against the dense pack. Gray charged, cleaving several goblins with one strike. The two paused, surrounded by piles of monster corpses. Saria praised, "Not bad." "Is this really your first time?" Gray cautioned, "Master, stay alert. We have only just started." He thought confusedly, strange they are too weak. If so, Master could handle this alone. Suddenly, an idea struck him. His eyes darted to the distant tent. A pair of glowing red eyes watched, horrifyingly grotesque. Gray shuddered and shouted, "Saria, we need to go. Run." She was surprised. Why? Gray was losing his composure. "Just run." Saria was stunned but complied. "All right," she said, and they both fled. Behind them, a goblin pursued. Gray's eyes widened. He saw the goblin was unnaturally powerful. Each step shook the ground. He flashed an eerie smile under the moonlight. "High-ranked goblin," he said. Saria nodded. "What an honor the boss came to us." But Gray suddenly yelled, "No, that is not the boss." A grotesque mouth opened wide. Behind, a swarm of goblins poured out, growling chaotically. Saria panicked. "What is that?" Gray affirmed, "Goblin warlord. That is the real boss." A massive monster wielding an axe led the goblins. Saria snapped out of it, "Goblin warlord, we can't handle that monster." Saria panicked and shouted at the high-ranked goblin in front, "Kill this one and run." She swung her sword, slashing its arm. Blood gushed, but she froze as the wound began to heal. Saria was bewildered. "The wound is regenerating." Gray rushed over, "It is useless." He explained, "The goblin warlord's roar boosts its allies' strength and regeneration. That is why they are abnormally strong." He stressed, "We can't kill any of them." Gray suddenly had an idea. "Master, hold off the one behind you. You do not need to kill it, just buy time." Saria turned. "What are you planning?" Gray said coldly, "Only one option left." He declared icily, "Take down that bastard." Gray's lips curled into a sinister, supremely arrogant smile. He swung his sword at the goblin in front of him, the blade slicing through the air and leaving a brilliant streak of light. As he fought, he thought, "Annoying, they keep trying to ambush me." He slashed again, the sharp edge hurtling straight at the goblin. It refused to yield, instantly raising its axe and swinging hard at Gray. He parried while calculating his next move. "Now I just need to focus on wiping out all the enemies in front of me." But the next second, an unexpected mishap occurred. Gray's sword shattered into countless fragments the moment he swung downward. He stared at the remaining hilt in his hand, his face incredulous. "My sword could not withstand a strengthened goblin." The goblin had no patience to wait for Gray to recover. It slammed its axe into the ground, the force pushing Gray back. He quickly drew his backup sword and continued fighting. "Good thing I brought a spare. But this one won't last long either." From afar, Saria, battling a group of goblins, shouted, "Gray, use my spare sword." Gray caught the sword, feeling a surge of strength. "Thank you." He now wielded two swords, ready to fight the goblin to the death in this fierce battle. "Now I have two, but it is still not enough to sweep away the monsters." Facing the goblin warlord and the goblins in between, Gray sheathed one sword, deciding to focus. He charged at the goblin, slashing a dazzling arc of light, powerful enough to tear through space. The goblin did not back down, swinging its axe straight at Gray's face, drawing blood from his cheek. Gray gritted his teeth, using his sword to block the axe blade. He roared, unable to hide his frustration. Immediately after, he drew the second sword from his hip, fighting with all his might against the swarming goblins. A burst of light erupted from the grotesque skull. One goblin bellowed, its eyes glowing golden. Gray froze at the sight. "What?" It is further empowering its allies. After the boost, the goblin swung its axe at Gray again. He could only desperately resist the overwhelming power. "You have seen through my plan." "Huh," the lead goblin roared. Instantly, dozens of goblins charged at Gray. He thought in admiration, "Your intelligence is no joke." Gray's sword clashed with the sharp axe, sparks flying everywhere. After intense resistance, Gray broke free from the axe. He stepped back, gathered momentum, and shouted, "Come on." He dashed forward, cutting through the goblins like a whirlwind before they could react. Gray swung his sword, trying to take down as many as possible. "I do not have time to deal with them one by one." Suddenly, a goblin grabbed Gray from behind while another charged, axe raised to finish him. But it impaled itself on Gray's sword, dying instantly. Gray realized their intent. They are deliberately trying to break my sword by throwing themselves at me. Gray looked up. A dark shadow eclipsed the faint light on his face. The ferocious goblin swung a powerful fist. Gray barely blocked it with his sword, but the impact sent him flying, dust billowing. He coughed up blood, his face covered in wounds. Gray struggled to sit up amid the rubble, groaning in pain. He looked at the last sword in his hand. Now only this one remains. He stood, facing the goblins and the goblin warlord. One sword against the entire pack. Gray lowered his head, recalling experiences before his regression. I know I can't win, he admitted helplessly. Still, Gray gripped the final sword tightly. He turned to Saria and shouted, Master, run, while they are focused on me. Escape. Saria merely smirked, gripping her own sword, and replied, Sorry, I can't do that. Gray dodged the goblin's attacks, still urging, Are you planning to die pointlessly, Master? I will follow after. Don't worry about me. Saria responded, That is not it. A hint of helplessness flashed in her eyes. She glanced at the wound on her thigh. I can't run anymore. Hearing this, Gray could not believe his ears and turned to look at her, stunned. He stared at the last sword in his hand. I am out of options. Gray resolved to fight to the death. I regressed to defeat the purifier. He swung the chipped sword, hoping to hold them off somehow. But before his eyes, the broken blade shattered further, pieces falling like rain. Is this the end? In a place like this, Gray stood there, weaponless. Surrounded by goblins, he refused to give up. Clenching the hilt, he told himself, No, it is not over yet. He recalled being cornered in the past. If I can awaken that power, even against the whole pack, I can. The broken sword fragmented into larger pieces. Gray urged himself, Remember the feeling from that time. He raised the remaining short blade, closed his eyes, and focused. Suddenly, a crimson surge of power erupted. Gray lightly slashed through the necks of all the goblins. The sword in his hand transformed into a dense black aura. Saria watched in utter shock. Gray stood there, face splattered with blood, but smiled reassuringly at her, It is okay now. He swung repeatedly, felling goblins in waves. Even the strongest goblin was cleaved in two. The goblin chieftain could not believe its eyes. Saria was equally stunned her disciple had awakened such terrifying power. On her side, she blocked the goblin's axe with one hand. She calmly taunted, Too light. Her eyes flashed, You have caused me quite a bit of trouble. With a light swing of her arm, the goblin tumbled backward. Saria thought to herself, Without the warlord boosting their power, you are nothing. It was well past midnight when the two finally defeated the entire goblin horde. Gray spoke in a low voice full of emotion, Somehow, we did it. He held up the broken sword before him, apologetic, Sorry, I broke your sword. Saria replied calmly, Don't worry, you saved my life. She reached out to take the broken sword. Gray, still trembling from the recent assault, did not finish his sentence before suddenly collapsing, lying motionless on the ground. Saria panicked, rushing over and shouting, Gray. Gray slowly regained consciousness, his mind hazy. Where am I? He looked around, seeing only a thick black mist enveloping everything. Before him, a floating door radiated mysterious black smoke. Gray realized, this is that power. The door continuously emitted streams of dark energy. If I open it, will I gain that power? He pondered, stepping closer. But the moment he touched it, an invisible force seized him, freezing his body. Gray immediately pulled back, retreating from the door. He clutched his chest, struggling to breathe, his heart pounding. I do not know why, but if I open this door now, I will die. A tear rolled down his cheek. A message appeared in his mind, wise decision. Gray snapped awake, eyes wide, his mind returning to reality. He gasped for air, realizing he was lying on a small bed. Saria stood beside him, softly calling, Gray, you are awake. He asked weakly, Where am I? Saria answered, The village clinic. You have been unconscious for 5 days. I was afraid you would not wake up, she said, her voice full of worry. Gray touched his forehead, slowly accepting reality. So I was out for 5 days. I overexerted myself, it must have affected my body. Saria shook her head, I do not think overexerted is enough to describe what you did. Gray sat up. Saria asked caringly, Forget that, are you okay? Can you get up? Gray checked himself and noticed something wrong. I can't put any strength into my right arm. He could move it with effort. But can I still wield a sword? He looked at his bandaged arm, noticing strange black marks. And this mark? Gray muttered. Saria noticed his difficulty moving his arm. It is not moving well, right? Gray thought. She does not see the mark, he replied. My dominant arm is too weak. Saria nodded, as if expecting it. As I thought, it won't heal soon. I mean, all the bones in your right arm are shattered, she added. Gray felt around his body, shocked. My bones are shattered. Strangely, he felt no pain. Saria pointed to a vial on the table. We used magic medicine to treat you. Gray stared at the vial, stunned. Magic medicine, isn't that really expensive? Saria sat on the opposite bed, reassuring him. Don't worry, the village chief gave it to us. Gray was surprised. The chief? Why would he give it to someone like me? Saria replied casually. What are you saying, Gray? You are the hero of this village. Gray still did not understand. Suddenly, a silver-haired man burst through the door, shouting, Gray. Confused, Gray clutched the vial. Thank you for the magic medicine, Chief. The man interrupted. We are the ones who should thank you. We are talking about a goblin warlord. That is a monster no one could harm, even if forces from nearby towns combined, the chief continued, rushing to the bed and gripping Gray's hand. If you had not killed it, the village would have been destroyed. He clasped Gray's hand with both of his, eyes tearing up. Without you and Saria, this medicine, this clinic, and the villagers' lives, none of it would exist, he said. Gray, flustered, replied, You are exaggerating, sir. The chief shook his head. You know I am not. Gray looked at the vial, thinking, maybe he is right. In the world before my regression, this village was destroyed by goblins. The chief stood and bowed respectfully. If you still do not realize the significance of what you did, I will explain in detail, he said, pausing. I heard you are taking the United World Academy entrance exam, right? Gray nodded, yes. He suddenly touched his chin, deep in thought. I fought the goblins a week before the exam. If I was out for 5 days, only 2 days remain. Gray's face grew serious. It is a 3-day walk to the academy. 1 day by horse, but I have no money. He quickly asked the chief, Sir, sorry, but could I borrow a horse? The chief turned, walking out as he spoke. I knew you would ask. I prepared the village's best horse. At that speed, you will make it in time. Saria, standing nearby, added, If you had not woken today, we were ready to carry you there. Gray got out of bed, opened the door to natural light, and was stunned by the sight outside. Hundreds of villagers stood cheering, celebrating his recovery. They raised a banner high, shouting, Thank you, you must pass the exam. Another said, Thank you for saving the village. A man approached, handing Gray a small cloth pouch. Gray, take this. Gray accepted the pouch and asked, What is it? The man replied, It is what the whole village pulled together for you. We heard the academy registration fee is expensive. Gray was moved, unsure how to respond. Thank you all so much. Preparing to leave, he joked, If I fail the exam now, I will be too embarrassed to come back. Saria reassured him, No need to worry. She looked at him confidently. No candidate at the academy can defeat a goblin warlord. Gray, still insecure, touched his immobile right arm, but with my arm like this. Saria cut in, Your left arm works fine, right? Gray checked his left arm, yes. Saria continued, That is enough. You do not need to use that power. Gray turned to mount the horse but muttered, The exam is not easy enough to pass with one hand. Saria stepped closer, It is fine. The examiners are not blind, they won't overlook your ability. I guarantee it. She looked him in the eye, her voice firm, You will definitely pass. Gray felt strengthened, Thank you so much. After you say that, I can't fail now. He thought, this village was destroyed in the previous world, but now it stands. This world is different. The future can change with this power. Gray looked at the villagers one last time, saying goodbye, I am off. Soon after, he arrived at the exam site. He patted the horse, Thanks to you, I made it in time. Gray looked up at the towering castle before him. So this is the United World Academy. The massive structure loomed against the blue sky, majestic like a challenge. Amid the clear blue sky, the examiner's voice rang out with authority, We will now begin distributing the exam papers. Until this process is complete, all candidates must remain in the central arena. As soon as the examiner finished, a wave of murmurs erupted from the crowd below. We are all candidates, one whispered. But only about 20 will pass, another replied. A few candidates discussed past exams. I heard the number of passers varies each year. Some years they take 50, but one year only one passed. The examiner's voice rose again, cutting through the noise. Now, please welcome Professor Ariel. Without delay, a figure with long, fiery red hair appeared, drawing gasps of admiration. She smiled mysteriously and spoke, "Let us begin. We will now distribute the exam papers. Candidates, please take the sheet appearing before you." She snapped her fingers, and a strange golden light flashed overhead. Before Gray, a sheet of paper materialized from the light. He quickly reached out to take it. The paper read, "Candidate number 513, Swordsmanship Zone." Seeing everyone had received theirs, Professor Ariel reminded from above, "It seems you all have your papers. Some of you may be surprised that the paper only lists a number and testing zone," she continued seriously. "Rest assured, it is always like this. The United World Academy does not discriminate by age, gender, nationality, status, or anything else." She gripped the edge of the table and declared firmly, "Not even your name." A sinister smile formed. "It means nothing to us." The Academy's entrance loomed grandly along the path, blending with Ariel's voice. "Only those who pass the exam and earn the right to cross the bridge will be asked their name. You can even use a fake name if you want," she added. Gray looked at his exam paper, thinking discontentedly, "I left my sword at the inn, and it says I am in the swordsmanship zone. What kind of system is this?" As if reading everyone's thoughts, Ariel spoke arrogantly, "I assigned the zones based on my observation of you." Her voice turned cold and threatening. "If I am wrong, please raise your hand." The crowd grew restless, protesting. She picked zones just by looking. She must be joking, right? No way she can do that with so many people. Some concluded, they must have checked us beforehand. Or maybe she is using mind-reading magic, another whispered. Seeing no hands raised, Ariel looked satisfied. It seems no one is in the wrong zone. She continued, "The waiting period is over. Next, I will announce the schedule. Please check your tickets." Gray immediately looked at his paper. Black text appeared, "Candidate number 513, Swordsmanship Zone, Day 1, 11:00 a.m. He panicked inwardly. Damn it. I am testing on the first day. I was hoping for more time to heal my arm. After a pause, Ariel's expression turned menacing as she warned seriously, "This is a one-time practical exam. If you are late, you will be automatically disqualified. Make sure to arrive on time. We do not accept scheduled change requests." Gray clutched his right arm. Worried, "I still can't put strength into my dominant arm. Please heal a little by tomorrow." In a blink, the exam day arrived. At the testing site, Gray looked at his injured arm, terrified. It has not healed at all. "I guess I have to take the exam like this." Suddenly, the examiner's voice pulled Gray from his thoughts. "Next candidate, please wait at the arena entrance." Gray took a deep breath, reassuring himself. All right, no time for pessimism. He clenched his right fist, thinking, "My left arm works fine, and my right can still move a little." Regaining composure, Gray planned how to pass. "I need to use the time to observe the examiner's movements and find openings." Before him, a sword fight between an examiner and a candidate unfolded. The examiner said, "You may strike first." The candidate replied instantly, "Got it." Without hesitation, the candidate gripped his sword, shouted, and charged at the examiner. He swung his sword hard into the wooden floor, creating a loud crash and thick white smoke. When the smoke cleared, the examiner stood unharmed. The candidate yelled, I am not done yet." He poured all his strength into slashing at the examiner. But the examiner easily parried, leaving the candidate panicked. Impossible. In an instant, his sword was knocked away. Both he and the sword flew far, crashing into the wooden floor with a loud bang. The candidate clutched his arm, pale, unable to stand. The examiner's cold voice rang out, "Your exam is over. Retrieve your weapon and leave the site." The candidate muttered, "Understood," his face full of disappointment. Witnessing this, Gray's lips twitched, but inside he panicked. "I am done for." The examiner urged, "Next, number 513. Gray straightened, "Yes." He recalled inwardly, "You are making me fight someone who just defeated a guy bigger than me." As if on cue, the examiner repeated, "You may strike first." Gray replied, "All right." Standing on the arena floor, Gray trembled, reassuring himself, "Honestly, I do not see any chance, but I will do everything I can." He charged straight at the examiner. shouting, "Here I come." As he ran, he recalled Sariel's words, "A sword is not just swung with the arm. You channel power from your entire body through the arm, carrying resolve and belief." Gray clung to Sariel's hope. "That is what you taught me, right, teacher?" Despite his powerless right arm, he channeled strength through other muscles. In a flash, he swung his sword, but the slash missed the examiner. Conflict rose within him. "But I can't fight normally. If swinging a sword without arm strength were that easy, no one would bother training their body." The examiner's image appeared, suddenly swinging his sword at Gray. Observing the movement, Gray noticed, his sword is a bit slow. Spotting the weakness, Gray parried the strike. As he fought, he pondered, "He has terrifying strength, but his speed and technique are not as good as my teacher's. If I rely on her swordsmanship, I can bridge the gap." Gray unleashed rapid, agile strikes, confirming his theory. Yes, he is slower. The examiner grew tense, flustered, always on edge. Gray judged, "He is not as strong as I thought." Sariel's smiling image appeared, her words full of faith, "You will definitely pass." Sariel's encouragement fueled him. With a burning heart, Gray poured all his strength into a strike, knocking the examiner's sword away. He thought, "I can really do this." The fight between the two unfolded intensely, like a spectacular contest of speed. The examiner's attacks remained steady and relentless. Gray heightened his defense but still faced disadvantages despite grasping his opponent's weakness. Even though he had seen through the examiner's swordsmanship, Gray gripped his sword tightly, preparing to counter. He did not hesitate, striking at the examiner's shoulder, but with seasoned experience, the man easily dodged. Gray pondered, no intention of giving up. He thought, the power gap is still too large. I can't break through his sword stance. It is really not easy to win with one hand. Gray continued attacking, utilizing his fastest speed. The examiner gradually revealed openings. Gray assessed the situation, his movements are coarser. A bit risky, but if I act now. He pulled his sword back, throwing the examiner off balance. Gray prepared for his plan. "Now, come at me." As expected, the examiner charged. Confidence flashed in Gray's eyes. "Got him." The man swung an overly forceful, predictable slash. Gray stepped back into a defensive stance, but instead of blocking, he swiftly circled behind, panicking the examiner. Seeing his opponent in a passive position, Gray rejoiced inwardly, despite the large power difference. "If I just get behind." He lunged forward, but the referee's voice rang out, "Stop." Gray's blade was just inches from the examiner, barely grazing the thin fabric. Gray felt unwilling, his body exhausted. "Is the fight over already? Isn't it too soon?" The referee announced from the stands, "Time is up." "The result is a draw." Gray froze in shock and disappointment. "I did not make it in time." He trembled holding the sword, then relaxed, accepting it. Gray turned and left the arena, telling himself, "I did my best. But if I can't beat him, I will struggle later." He glanced back at the arena, his heart heavy. "Thank you, sir." A week later, in meeting room 53 of the United World Academy, 6 organizing members sat in the vast chamber. The principal, an elderly man with glasses, spoke, "What do you think of the candidates? They have completed the exam." A brown-haired man replied indifferently, "Tiring." An older examiner said cautiously, "Having everyone observe together is inefficient. Next year, we should divide the tasks." The mustached man focused on benefits. "We can't miss talents just to save effort." The principal sighed at the apathy. "I am asking about the students, not the system." Starting with the swordsmanship course, the principal said. Small holographic images appeared on the table. One asked, "Who passed?" The older examiner analyzed. "As usual, those who defeat the examiner pass. The rest are judged by performance quality and ability to last 15 minutes. What do the swordsmanship instructors think?" he continued. Besides those who defeated the examiner, candidates 5,217 and 753 stood out. The brown-haired man interjected, "Keep the list at that level. Others who pass won't keep up." The mustached man agreed, "I concur." Any objections? The room fell silent. The principal concluded, "We confirm the swordsmanship course admissions list." Suddenly, a voice spoke, "What about candidate number 513? It was Ariel, the red-haired woman who had been silent. "What do you think of candidate number 513? The bespectacled man pondered. The mustached man opened Gray's fight screen. "This kid, he almost won but used a trick." He will struggle later. Decent, but weak in power. I saw him dominated from start to finish, another said. The principal hesitated. The mustached man dismissed, adding gray. Ariel sighed in exasperation, so many observers, and no one noticed. Having everyone watch together is a waste. The discussion ended. The next day, everyone gathered for results. Gray was present, holding his notice, candidate number 513, Swordsmanship Course, Day 1, 11:00 a.m. The loudspeaker announced, "We will now reveal the Swordsmanship Course admissions list." A total of 6 candidates. Gray tensed, "Here it comes." The speaker continued, "Successful candidates' papers will spontaneously combust. Candidates number 5, 217, 432, 615, 753, 925. Gray froze in despair, "So I really failed." The speaker said, "Successful candidates, please cross the bridge and complete enrollment procedures today." The atmosphere was chaotic, mixed with joy and sorrow. Gray bowed his head, heart heavy. Suddenly, the speaker continued, "Next is the special Divine Eye exemption announcement, candidate number 513. Gray's paper ignited in blue flames. He became the center of attention. Staring at the flames, Gray doubted, "I passed." The crowd murmured, mostly mocking, "Divine Eye exemption, picking that way again." Successful candidates jeered, "Isn't that a backdoor entry? The Academy's standards are dropping." Gray was distracted, "Backdoor? I do not know anyone. Maybe through my master, but I have not heard anything." An old man with a cane approached, reprimanding, "Hey, do not speak nonsense about the Divine Eye exemption. It is a prestigious category that has produced heroes for 100 years. They ignored him, old folks obsessed with Divine Eye. "Isn't it just past glory?" another said. "Recent Divine Eye passers all fail. Amy Whitebell, Jacob Bloom." Gray stayed silent, enduring the sarcasm. "A bunch of failures even current candidates know." But the names Amy Whitebell and Jacob Bloom sparked hope. They were key forces against the Lich King. Is my name now mentioned with them? The gentle dawn light bathed the academy, everything immersed in serene glow. The main building loomed majestically amid a thin mist, the surrounding canal flowing peacefully. Crowds streamed in as the loudspeaker announced, "The entrance ceremony will begin in 30 minutes. If you have finished changing, please gather at the square in front of the main office." Groups of students in dark blue uniforms trimmed with gold appeared on the stone-paved paths, the academy insignia gleaming silver on their left chests. Amid the flow, Gray walked calmly, exuding a cold, unpredictable aura. A few students huddled, looking around awkwardly. "This is the square in front of the main office, right?" one whispered. His friend replied, "What is the big deal? Did we get the wrong place?" Suddenly, a figure rushed over, panting, "Sorry, a mix-up delayed preparations." A student asked, "Preparations?" The man continued, "Could you step back a bit so I can set up the stairs?" Everyone exchanged puzzled looks but complied. Is this far enough?" He turned with a smile, "Perfect." Amid the confusion, he knelt, pressed his hand to the ground, and muttered, "All right." A radiant magic circle enveloped the space. Intricate spell lines intertwined, blazing golden like an exploding sun. Crimson-orange lightning bolts streaked through the light, creating a fierce, supernatural sensation. The ground trembled, the air compressed by immense energy. The crowd stared in awe at the power beyond comprehension. Moments later, everything vanished, the sky clear as after a storm. The man stood casually, "Sorry for the delay, sit anywhere you like." The students remained stunned, lips trembling, "Yes." They glanced around. One panicked, "That was teleportation magic." "Right." Another gritted his teeth, "They teleported something that huge." Gray sat down, thinking, they probably want the ceremony where the school is visible. Using teleportation is extravagant. He turned with a bright smile, "This is the power of the United World Academy." He noticed 2 people chatting. "There are too many seats, right? Only 30 admitted. Why so many?" The short-haired girl smiled awkwardly. "You do not know," her friend, offended, "Sorry, besides swordsmanship, I do not know much." The short-haired girl grinned, "Let me explain." She twirled her finger rhythmically. "The United World Academy, as the name suggests, gathers the world's best students." She cheered, "Look, here they come." Her friend jumped, eyes wide in the direction she pointed. In the blue sky, massive airships glided through the clouds. Their sleek hulls reflected the morning light, sails billowed full with wind velocity like majestic flying warships. Among the airships, enormous dragons soared, wings spread wide. She screamed, "What is this?" The airships remained imposingly grand. Gray stared in shock. The Sotra Quinn magic airships. I boarded one when joining the Purifier extermination team. Said to be among the world's largest, using them just for the entrance ceremony. He thought, worthy of the United World Academy. The airships landed, dust swirling. A group with stern faces entered. The principal beamed, leaning on the podium. Looks like everyone's here. Let us start the entrance ceremony. The loudspeaker blared, "Thank you, Principal, for the speech." Gray crossed his arms, yawning, so the entrance ceremony is ordinary. He was surprised to hear a name called. Next, greetings from the top scorers of each department. Leon Hart, swordsmanship top scorer, please speak. Leon stood, bowing politely, yes. He stepped down amid admiring whispers. He defeated the examiner in one strike, his swordsmanship rival's instructors. Leon bowed deeply, hand on chest to the professors. I am Leon Hart, indeed an outstanding student. His face exuded seriousness. Gray sighed, pondering. Leon asked politely, "May I speak freely?" The professor smiled. "Of course." Leon thanked him, turning sharply to the students. "I have something to say. First, congratulations to all who passed fairly. It is an honor to study with you." He placed a hand on his chest, showing goodwill. To graduate and contribute to the world, let us strive together. I look forward to advancing further at this prestigious academy. But unfortunately, one among us does not deserve to stand here. Right, Divine Eye Professor Ariel, eyes closed enjoying the atmosphere, startled at her name but quickly composed herself. All students here passed a rigorous exam. Even if not as strong as you, excluding them is unreasonable. Why ask me? Leon's face hardened, eyes furious. I am not talking about fair passers, but the student you favored with direct Divine Eye admission. He shouted, pointing at the students. Step forward, return your uniform, and leave the academy now. The students erupted in chaos. Gray worried, why so intense? Good thing he does not know my face. Staying quiet should keep me safe. Ariel laughed loudly. HMPH, this year's freshmen are lively. Gray protested, Professor, I am serious. Please stop backdoor admissions. A whoosh like wind passed. Ariel appeared behind Leon, whispering, Do you think you are stronger than that student? Leon shouted. What? Of course am I wrong? Ariel smiled amused. I like that attitude. Let us make a bet. Leon was surprised. A bet? Ariel crossed her arms, calm with a confident smirk. I wager my professor position and that student's enrollment. Gray was taken aback by the opponent's words, slightly choking. A bet? Leon was equally confused. Professor Ariel, are you making me fight that special admission kid? Ariel, eyes still closed, waved dismissively. I would not do something so crude. She adjusted her glasses, staring straight at Leon. Besides, if he went all out, you would die. As a teacher, I can't let students get hurt. Veins bulged on Leon's face. He glared furiously. Are you provoking me? Ariel remained calm. I am serious. So let us bet on monsters instead of people safer. She paused, then added, plus, you are better at fighting monsters than people, right? Leon grew angrier. So you know everything, huh? What exactly is the bet? Ariel smiled faintly, as if achieving her goal. Raising a hand, she said, simple, just kill the monster I choose as the target. Professor Ariel explained the rules round by round, each monster stronger than the last. Whoever fails to kill their target first loses. Gray, sitting in his chair, rubbed his head helplessly. Ariel continued, if he loses, I resign, and all special admission students are expelled. If you lose, you follow my every command. Leon's defiance reflected in Ariel's glasses. She acted nonchalant, extending her hand to Leon. Well, he touched the sword at his hip. Tell me the targets first. I am confident against any opponent, but I do not want to fall for a cheap trap. Ariel placed a hand on her chin, considering. Let us see for the first target. How about a goblin general? Too easy for you. The students in the hall gasped. Gray crossed his arms, thinking carefully. A goblin general. Why pick the exact one I defeated? Conversely, Leon slammed the table in rage. Are you mocking me? Sweat beaded on his forehead. A goblin general is not something one person can solo. Ariel smiled lightly. I did not say kill it now. The deadline is within this year. Fair, right? Leon shouted. If someone could solo a calamity-level monster after 1 year of training, people would not struggle. Pick a realistic target. He paused, panting, then smirked, clenching his fist. You deliberately chose an unbeatable monster so no one wins. Right, I won't agree. Ariel stepped closer. Then add a condition. If it is a tie, you win. Leon was stunned. Ariel continued. In other words, if that kid fails to kill the Goblin General, I am automatically fired, and special admission students are expelled. She winked playfully. How about it? Leon confirmed fearfully. Are you insane? I feel like the bet's outcome is already decided. Ariel turned to leave, still smiling. Then I take it you do not object. Leon added, it has to be a full-strength Goblin General. No weakening. Ariel raised her hand. A flash of light appeared. She waved, and a pen and blank paper materialized. I have detailed everything in this magic contract. The contract floated. If no issues, sign it. Leon read carefully, then signed. I am in. He asked, but do you really believe that kid will win? Ariel, unconcerned, turned away. Who knows? Ariel returned to her seat, sitting calmly. The hall buzzed about the contract. What is wrong with Professor Ariel? Maybe she is using the bet as an excuse to retire. She has been washed up for ages. Ariel ignored the sarcasm, smiling at the contract. Gray sighed helplessly. Great, the bet is officially on. He opened his eyes, pondering. Wait, why do I feel she factored in the monster I defeated before enrolling? The deadline is this year. Ariel noticed Gray staring. Gray thought deeply. The bet was rigged from the start. Ariel placed a finger to her lips, signaling him not to reveal the truth. Gray marveled. She plays dirty. The professor on the podium calmly began. Now we start the introductory magic lesson. He placed a book on the desk. Some of you may be surprised lessons start on day 1. But as Academy students, remember, waste not a single day. He raised his hand, emitting green light. We begin with magic usage. The professor continued lecturing on spells. In the body exists an invisible energy called ether. By channeling it through magic circuits, you can. The professor taught attentively. Students listened seriously. Gray thought, I was worried about keeping up, but it is fine. I learned this at the training camp. He glanced at the blonde in the front row, in the same class as him again. Could have chosen another. He rested his cheek on his hand, bored. Please do not let anyone know I am the Divine Eye Special Admission. A voice cut through his thoughts. Hey, you there looking bored, not even 5 minutes in and you are staring elsewhere. Gray stammered, sorry, sir. He thought, he noticed with one glance, even though I am in the back row. The professor closed the book. If you are so confident, why not demonstrate for the class? You know basic magic, right? Gray stood awkwardly. Sir, we are in the swordsmanship course. I thought not knowing magic was fine. The professor reminded, even if you only use a sword in fights, you need basic magic to coordinate with mages. You must understand controlling ether. Gray froze, just like the training camp. He asked, the spell we are learning is ether bullet, right? The professor returned to the podium. Oh, you know it. Can you use it? Gray replied, yes. He sighed in relief. That hellish training camp was not for nothing. The professor said, perfect opportunity. I will turn this into a duel. Leon, you can use ether bullet, right? Leon stood, of course, sir. I was trained in both swordsmanship and magic before enrolling. Would it be risky to have him duel for real? The professor was firm. Despite the skill gap, we are only using ether bullet. He won't die. And I am not telling you to hold back. He added, but that gray-haired one is this year's Divine Eye Special Admission. Leon was stunned. The class turned to stare at Gray, eyes wide with surprise. Gray was flustered by the attention. He just outed me. Leon slammed the table. So that is it. Then I will teach him properly. He glared at Gray. Get to the stage. Gray was speechless. The two stepped onto the podium, facing each other. The professor stood between them, explaining the rules. When I signal, fire ether bullet at your opponent. Gray braced himself. I only learned magic for a few days. Even if the professor says I won't die, I won't come out unscathed. The professor shouted, begin. Leon summoned his magic, challenging, I will show you the power gap. Gray refused to yield, summoning his best magic. Screw it, no choice. 2 orbs of power flew toward each other. Unexpectedly, both shouted in unison, what? The beam of light began to move, hurtling straight toward Leon, forcing him to retreat and dodge by a hair's breadth. Leon panicked, eyes wide with terror, screaming in horror as the light closed in, its power seeming to swallow him whole. Suddenly, a man dashed forward, arms spread to shield him, his face showing unyielding resolve amid the ferocious light. In an instant, the space blazed like daylight. Leon stood frozen, nearly lifeless, staring blankly at the scene. The man nearly sighed in relief, his trembling hand wiping beads of sweat from his forehead, heart still reeling. The beam of light began to fracture, large cracks spreading across the blinding patches. Abruptly, a young man, fearless, leapt decisively into the light's core. A fierce gust swept through as he appeared, making the audience in the hall tremble, instinctively shielding their faces, hearts pounding at the overwhelming sight. The young man knelt, blocking the green light, eyes burning with sacrificial spirit. But in less than 5 minutes, he collapsed sprawled on the floor, crying out in pain. The man rushed over like the wind, asking worriedly, "Leon, are you okay?" Leon trembled, struggling to look up at the figure before him. He forced himself up, wiping the bloody corner of his mouth, replying softly, "I am fine." His voice was weak but resolute. The man asked no more, only nodding, "Good, that is a relief." But his eyes remained sharp, scanning the room with high alert. Without the barrier reducing its force, Leon might not have survived. The room was now in ruins, dust filling the air, the atmosphere oppressively heavy. Even the professors could not fire an ether bullet that powerful. The man tilted his head, voice angry, "What did you just do?" The young man did not answer immediately, only staring at his hand, frowning in thought. Was it that weak? It clearly was not the spell I used. His pupils contracted, mind in turmoil. Could the ether bullet I learned in the suppression team differ from what the academy teaches? He clenched his fist, eyes blazing with anger. Then he raised his hand to his chest, asking respectfully, "Did I use the spell wrong?" The man sighed helplessly, "It was clearly an ether bullet, but your quality is different. What you just used was not a normal ether bullet, but a hyper-compressed ether in fair form, a powerful energy hidden within the radiant orb." His words caused an uproar in the hall, whispers of awe rising. Hyper-compressed ether, never heard of it, questions poured in, eyes fixed on the young man. The man continued, voice authoritative, "It is an energy form even professors struggle to create. Yet in that moment, you formed and transformed it into magic. No one in this academy can replicate what you just did." As he finished, the hall erupted again, endless chatter. "That is the strongest ether bullet I have ever seen." Was the Divine Eye admission meant to prepare for this moment? The young man thought. They should have put me in the magic course from the start instead of special admission. He questioned himself, conflicted. All the magic the suppression team taught was like this. I am still far below many in the team. In every fight, I fell first. He asked seriously, "Are you joking with me?" "Sir," the professor replied firmly, "anyone can do it with proper training." His lips curved into a mysterious smile. The young man Gray stood dumbfounded, not understanding. The professor laughed heartily, eyes narrowing, leaving Gray frozen, confused about what was happening. Suddenly, the professor leaned in, proposing seriously, "Why not switch to the magic course? I will guarantee it for you. Your magic talent far surpasses swordsmanship." Gray blushed, looking away, hand clenched, "I have to decline. I heard I am not very good at magic." The professor shouted in fury, "Are you mocking me? You mastered ether compression to create hyper-compressed ether at your age. You are a rare genius, even by academy standards, I personally guarantee it. Anyone saying you lack talent clearly knows nothing." He paused, voice lowering, "Gray, are you sure you do not want to switch to the magic course?" The hall gasped, stunned by the rare praise from the notoriously strict professor. He pointed straight at Gray, voice menacing, "It would be a great loss to the world if you do not study magic. I would even call it a crime against magic." Gray only smiled faintly, heart filled with mixed emotions. Suddenly, he jolted, thinking, "Wait, ether compression, I have heard of it. Long ago, before humans knew OD life force. Casting magic was hard. Ether had to be compressed in the body, randomly mixed with OD." Bella suddenly spoke, thinking back, "That is ridiculous, right?" Gray continued, "Professor, do you know about OD?" He pondered, then asked, "What is OD?" Seeing the reaction, Gray realized in shock. This world does not know OD yet. What I learned in the suppression team is from the future. His eyes widened, heart pounding. I must be careful not reveal this carelessly. He clenched his fist, eyes burning with resolve. The man asked again, "So, do you want to switch to the magic course?" Gray bowed respectfully. "Sorry, I do not love swordsmanship, but I am grateful for the offer. I still have to decline." He sighed. "If that is your choice, I accept it." Then he clenched his fist, voice warm, "If you change your mind, find me anytime." Gray scratched his head, smiling. "Thank you, sir." He pointed to the stands. "Return to your seat. I won't blame you for being distracted in class, or even leaving if bored. This lecture is too basic for you." As he spoke, the hall was stunned. The crowd whispered, awed by Professor Carlos's high praise for Gray. As he walked away, someone tugged his tie, voice strained but warm. "Sir Gray." He jumped, chills running down his spine. "What is this? Why do I feel creeped out?" In the evening, Gray was summoned to an office. He strode down the empty hallway, holding the letter, full of doubt. Is Professor Carlos trying to persuade me to switch courses again? Standing before the intricately carved wooden door, he hesitated, rereading the letter. He knocked, and a voice inside said, "Gray, right, it is unlocked." He bowed, entering, apologizing. Suddenly, a figure lunged at him. Instinctively, Gray drew his sword, thrusting without hesitation. A girl gasped in shock, mouth agape, falling to the ground. He held his stance, stunned. "What the hell?" Looking at the trembling girl under his blade, he jolted. "I have met her somewhere before." The girl looked up, eyes mixed with fear and curiosity, making Gray's heart unexpectedly race. A voice beside them rang out in admiration. "Oh, not bad at all." Ariel smiled confidently. "I knew my judgment was not wrong." The man with parted hair turned to Ariel, voice full of questions. "You did not hold back just now, right? Were you conserving strength?" He observed sharply. "Your movements were perfect, but losing your sword that easily is not natural." Gray instinctively glanced at Bella, thinking, so it really is Bella Arbright. The current her is no different from the image in my future memories. Ariel paid no mind, humming lightly with disdain. "So serious, if you can't even notice that, maybe quit teaching." The parted-haired man flinched, awkward. We were just joking." Gray, still bewildered, stood between confusion and curiosity. He spoke hesitantly. "Professors, what are you doing?" Ariel beamed, explaining, "We bet on whether you could block Bella's surprise attack. Thanks to you, I won big." She tossed something at Gray. He caught it nimbly, opening his hand, eyes lighting up in surprise. "Gold coins, this is a fortune." Finally, Old Mustache conceded. He had watched the duel intently, eyes never leaving Gray. From the exchange, Mustache commented, he seemed to deliberately avoid using his dominant hand. The bearded man nodded, analyzing, probably an injury. But not a normal muscle injury, something deeper. Gray clutched his aching arm, silently admitting they were right. "Exactly." The other man agreed, a regular wound would not affect him like that. Gray, incredulous, looked at them. "You can tell just by watching," the bearded man replied matter-of-factly. "If we could not, how could we be professors here?" the parted-haired man added. "Anyway, Professor Carlos knew about this since the entrance exam." Ariel cut in coldly. "Understood, leave now. He is my student. I am not handing him over." The two men turned to leave. The parted-haired one left praise, "We acknowledge his potential." But the bearded one, passing by, eyes icy, "If that injury does not heal, he won't meet academy standards. Remember that." The room now held only Professor Carlos, Bella, and Gray. Ariel spoke, voice mysterious, "Now that the nuisances are gone, let us talk magic." She looked at Gray sharply. "I heard you used hyper-compressed ether in Professor Carlos's class." Gray did not hide it, "So you know." Carlos recounted, "He came to my office, telling me to switch you to the magic department. Of course, I refused." Ariel pondered, then revealed her other eye, glowing like a star. "You are more suited to swordsmanship than magic." Seeing that eye for the first time, Gray froze. Ariel explained meticulously, "You show no signs of someone skilled at compressing magic. No trace of prior training." Gray thought, that eye. It knows just by looking. Better not lie. He admitted honestly, "As you say." Ariel delved deeper, curious about her student. "May I ask, how did you do it? I promise not to reveal it and there is a reward." She glanced at Bella, as if sharing a secret. "I need to know, for her sake." Gray nearly slipped but stopped, relieved, almost called her a mage. Ariel saw Bella's pained expression, sharing, yes, she is a theoretical magic genius, but her practical skills are not outstanding. Ariel frowned worriedly, I do not understand why she can't compress ether well. That is why she can't create hyper-compressed ether. Gray observed Bella, recalling what he knew, they say Bella Arbright was a late bloomer. So that is it. Ariel continued, Carlos said when you used hyper-compressed ether, it did not look like compression at all. If there is a way to use it without compressing ether, she won't be transferred to Professor Vigian Borley. Hearing the name, Gray's face paled, eyes filled with horror. Professor Vigian Borley, he agitated, it is him. Right, Ariel nodded, yes, you seem to know him. Gray's mind chaos. How could I not, he is infamous everywhere. Memories flooded, piles of bodies at Vigian's feet, countless human experiments. A town burned to ashes, dozens dead from magic disasters. To Gray, Vigian Borley was no different from a serial killer. He blurted, he is the most notorious magic criminal in history still not caught. Ariel worried. If Bella can't create hyper-compressed ether by year's end, she will be transferred to him for surgery. Gray horrified, unable to sit still. What, that is not okay at all. Ariel predicted Bella's tragic fate, under the pretext of enhancing magic ability, but it is human experimentation. I have seen the body's eyes still open in grievance. She paused, resolute, I would rather she drop out than let him touch her. Bella, after silence, spoke trembling, it is dangerous, but if I can't use hyper-compressed ether, I will be expelled. Gray pondered heavily. The magic knowledge I know is from the future, it does not exist yet. Revealing it could change history. Seeing Bella tremble, Gray's eyes cursed fate. A future doomed by the purifier, warriors falling in an instant. Is that the future I want? He softened, setting down his teacup. Voice determined, I understand. I will teach her. A dark magic orb appeared from Gray's hand. In front of Aina courtyard, everyone fell silent, listening intently as he explained magic. Gray honestly, this is all I know. He warned seriously, don't tell anyone I taught you this. Ariel playfully, of course we signed a magic contract. Breaking it means death, Gray relieved, asked, after what I said. What do you think? Ariel, despite being a professor, was stunned, just the OD part alone shocked me. Bella absorbed quickly, excited, concise, precise. Like a magic lesson from 100 years in the future, she sincerely, just hearing your explanation advanced magic history by a century. Gray pleased but not arrogant, even if it is a lesson from you 10 years later, for now, it is a century ahead. Bella still doubtful. Is what you said true? Bella trusted. The theory is logical, no contradictions with current magic. The fastest way to verify is experimentation. She looked at Gray expectantly, if you are telling the truth, this spell will work. Bella left a paper, stepping forward. Following the theory, Bella raised her wand, creating a magic circle. Gray hesitated, recalling, Bella Arbright's full power could raise a city. In a flash, the magic circle expanded, enveloping the space. Bella once could not control her vast magic. Before Gray could stop it, his body began fading. Wait, from the courtyard, magic erupted like a volcano, leaving everyone stunned. Under that terrifying power, Gray raised his hand to shield his face, murmuring inwardly, this is the real power, overwhelming, utterly terrifying. He was still trembling as he recalled the moment when, if Bella had been even a fraction slower in controlling her magic, he might have vanished in those flames. Fortunately, she had saved his life. He remembered the ferocious flames surging toward him, only to suddenly reverse, swirling back toward Bella as if manipulated by an invisible force. Bella now beamed with a radiant smile, her eyes sparkling with joy. She exclaimed, I did it, I controlled it. In the sky, the flames swirled in a perfect orbit, gradually converging at one point. From there, a brilliant fire dragon emerged, coiling through the air, its crimson light illuminating the entire area. Watching the spectacle, Gray smiled faintly, whispering, truly incredible. But at that moment, Bella's eyes dulled, her eyelids drooping as her body swayed, on the verge of collapse. She murmured weakly, I am out of ether. Before she could finish, she crumpled to the ground. Gray rushed forward in panic, catching her and calling her name, Bella, Bella. Ariel, standing nearby, hurried over, reassuring him, calm down, Gray. She is just exhausted from depleting her ether. Let her rest a bit, and she will be fine. Hearing this, Gray sighed in relief, his gaze softening as he looked at Bella. He felt a warmth in his heart, mingled with pride at seeing this petite girl achieve the impossible. Gazing at the lingering embers in the sky, Ariel marveled, incredible, in such a short time, Bella created magic on this scale. Her talent is truly rare. Bella, though dazed, still mumbled, "It is not that I am skilled. It is the theory. The theory helped me create hyper-compressed ether." Gray frowned slightly, thinking, "That theory was your idea, Bella. How can you still be so humble?" But he did not say it aloud, only watching her silently with eyes full of admiration. Ariel sighed, turning to Gray, "She has created hyper-compressed ether, so no surgery needed. I will inform Bradley to cancel it. We have dodged that risk." But then she grew pensive, voice tinged with worry. "Still, I am concerned Bella might lose control over her magic power." Gray was surprised, asking, "Control magic power? What do you mean?" Ariel explained. "Bradley's surgery boosts magic output, but the cost is control. It forcibly breaks the body's limits, and the exact mechanism is a secret. But it is said to be a highly risky process." Gray stroked his chin, pondering. "I see. Is that why mages in the previous world could not control their immense magic power?" Ariel nodded, then suddenly smiled. "But thanks to you, Bella achieved the impossible, creating hyper-compressed ether. Our contract condition is fulfilled. Now it is my turn to uphold my end." She glanced at Gray's right arm, continuing, "First, I want to use magic on your arm." Ariel raised her hand, a brilliant green light emanating from her palm, tiny magical butterflies hovering around, shimmering like a dream. She approached, channeling that magic into Gray's right arm. After a while, Ariel asked, "How does it feel?" Gray looked down at his arm, gently clenching and extending it. He exclaimed in shock, I can move it." Joy surged through him. He clenched his fist tightly, looking at Ariel with grateful eyes. "Thank you, Professor, but even magical healing potions could not fix it. How did you do this?" Ariel smiled. "Don't compare my nerve-restoring magic to ordinary potions." She stepped closer, asking, "But does it move like before? Try wielding a sword." Gray nodded, stepping forward. He gripped the hilt firmly, drew it, and swung a few basic strikes. But he paused, looking at his arm, thinking, "The feel. It is not as agile as before." He said honestly, "My arm is not fully back to normal." Ariel nodded, unsurprised, "As I thought. I can heal the nerves, but my magic can't repair the wound in your soul." Gray was astonished. "Soul? What do you mean?" Ariel explained. "Though magic science has not proven the soul's existence, I believe it is real. With this eye," she pointed to her eye, flashing with dazzling light, "I can see your soul gradually recovering. As long as you do not overexert, it will heal on its own over time." Gray looked at his arm, marveling. "My body healing itself?" he asked. "You mean I should not train too hard?" Ariel shook her head. "No, you can train normally. But I am curious what swordsmanship could damage the soul this badly." Gray scratched his head awkwardly, silent. Ariel continued, voice lowering, "There are sword techniques that use the soul to execute, and I suspect you learned from Amy White." Hearing that name, Gray jolted, his face stiffening. He thought, "How does she know Amy?" At this point, "I have not even met her." Seeing his silence, Ariel asked, "Did I say something wrong? Your sword style is very much like Amy White's, but with a slight difference. Whoever taught you surpasses even her." Gray's heart raced. "She knows that too. I need to change the subject, or I will slip." He quickly said, I learned swordsmanship at my village dojo. But is there really swordsmanship that damages the soul?" Ariel waved it off. "No, ordinary swordsmanship can't. But you are no ordinary person. A single slash killing an orc general, destroying the surrounding forest. That power is not commonplace." Gray knew he was exposed and admitted, "So you know." Ariel said casually, "Of course. I examined the site. The remnants were impressive. That mysterious power inside you used it, right?" Gray was shocked. "You can see it, Professor." Ariel nodded. "I saw it through the chained door." Gray jolted inwardly. The chained door? No way she guessed it, she really saw it. Ariel continued, "I have seen similar power in you, but not exactly the same. Those who possess it are called the Purifier." Hearing that name, Gray's face darkened. He muttered, "Why does that name appear here?" Ariel noticed the change, asking, "You have heard it before, have not you?" A whirlwind of chaotic thoughts flooded Gray's mind. He wondered, why does the purifier's name appear at this point, what is happening? Looking at his expression, Ariel spoke up, so you have already heard about it. Honestly, I did not think it was that widely known. But then, the fact that you know about that magical theory that looks into the future is not all that surprising. He scratched his head a bit embarrassedly and thought, so it really is knowledge from the future. No matter who discovered that part. Then she looked at him and asked, how much do you know about the purifier? He took a few seconds before answering, I only know that it is an extremely dangerous threat to humanity. We must prevent it from appearing before it is too late. If we can't, then we have to destroy it at all costs. Ariel gently stroked her chin, thought for a few seconds, and then said, it might be a bit extreme, but I agree that it is truly very dangerous. Even so, Balian Bradley seems determined to continue his experiments. Hearing this name, he asked in confusion, how is he related to this? Ariel replied calmly, do you even need to ask? The purifier is the entity he is trying to summon. These words made Gray's eyes freeze in shock for a few seconds as he thought to himself, the purifier is man-made. I have never heard anyone say that. But in the previous timeline, the Academy acted as if they knew exactly where the purifier would appear. But then he suddenly realized something. His eyes suddenly hardened. He muttered to himself, don't tell me. Our Academy was involved in the summoning from the very beginning. He spoke decisively, that experiment must be stopped immediately. Ariel nodded in agreement, I agree. The problem is that the person leading the experiment is a professor just like me. I do not have the authority to shut down his research facility or prohibit his experiments. I have pushed the higher-ups to cancel it, but they won't listen. He asked further, who exactly are the higher-ups? She immediately shook her head, refusing to reveal, sorry. I do not have the right to disclose that. The issue is that without orders from above, no one can force the experiment to stop. At this point, he slumped down in thought, they won't even give the name of the person in charge. So the Academy leadership is more troublesome than usual. But if he is a criminal, would not that change things? In the previous world, Balian's illegal experiments killed tens of thousands of people. I even know where he conducts them. Thinking this, he turned to her and said, I know where he carries out those illegal experiments. If we catch him red-handed. Before he could finish, she interrupted, sorry, but that won't work either. This made him extremely puzzled, why not? She explained, breaking into a professor's research facility within the Academy without permission is a serious crime. Without concrete evidence, we will be the ones thrown in jail. Or are you saying we already have proof of his crimes? Her words made him think for a few seconds. She continued, if not, we will have to put this on hold for now. He clenched his fists in anger, thinking to himself, so even though she knows how dangerous this is, she is powerless too. He replied, I understand. At this moment, she changed the subject. More importantly, let us talk about your power. Do you want to learn how to control it? Hearing that he could control his power made Gray startle slightly. He raised his hand to his chest and asked, how? She answered, at the Academy, there is a professor who is excellent at handling unknown abilities. His name is Heathkit Longfellow. This name felt somewhat familiar, making Gray freeze for a few seconds as he thought to himself, Heathkit Longfellow, he is the one who trained the Sword Saint. Seeing his reaction, she continued, I think he will be interested in you. I will arrange for you to start private training with him tomorrow. This made him extremely excited. He clenched his fist and said, thank you. He thought to himself, the reason I came to the Academy was to master this power. I never expected to find a lead so quickly. Scene transitioned to the next day. At this point, Gray had a training session with Heathkit. The two were playing a game of cat and mouse in the forest. Heathkit was running ahead while Gray had to chase behind. Sweat was pouring down his face from exhaustion. His breathing was rapid as he thought to himself, I am getting private lessons from Heathkit Longfellow, but why do we have to run like this? They were currently training in the forest outside the Academy. Glancing back and seeing Gray's speed slow down a bit, Heathkit reminded, your mind is distracted. I can feel it. If there is still room for wandering thoughts, pick up the pace. Run until your body is completely exhausted. Only when you have burned every last drop of physical vitality will the power of your soul awaken. As long as you have even a bit of stamina left, I won't let you touch my sword. Understood. Even though he did not yet understand the method of this training, he still nodded and replied, yes, Professor. He thought to himself, if it is Heathkit's training, it must have a purpose. But while I am running in circles here, Balian is still conducting the experiment to summon the purifier. Two streams of thought appeared in his mind at this moment, making him extremely conflicted. Should I really be doing this right now? After a grueling week of training. At this point, he came to meet Ariel. She looked at him and said, "So a week of training has passed. How's it going with Hethkid?" He scratched his head and replied, "Actually, it was mostly running. We only did a bit of sword practice at the very end. But I feel a little stronger now." This training regimen was nothing new to Ariel, making her smile with amusement. That is exactly his style. While the two were talking, a teacher pushed open the door from outside and said, "Excuse me." He handed over a letter and said, "Professor Ariel, there is a letter for you." She took the letter and replied, "Oh, thank you." She immediately opened the letter and skimmed through it. Suddenly, her eyes darkened. This made Gray extremely puzzled. He asked, "What is wrong?" Then he took the letter and read it. His eyes also froze for a few seconds. The letter read, "To the esteemed Professor Ariel, we have received a report that Bella Albright has successfully created super-compressed ether, meaning she has truly gained power similar to it. However, after verification, it is clear that she has not actually compressed it. Therefore, her new ability cannot be recognized as super-compressed ether. The contract remains in effect, and the operation will proceed as planned. Signed, Balian Bradley." After reading the letter, Gray shouted in anger, "This is insane." Realizing his intentions, Ariel said, "It seems Bradley is still determined to force her into surgery, even though she might not need it anymore." He asked in confusion, "Can't she refuse?" Ariel replied, "The contract is ironclad. Unless Bradley himself cancels it, Bella can only choose between expulsion or undergoing the surgery." These unreasonable rules made Gray extremely angry. Ariel felt the same way. She slammed her hand on the table in anger and said, "Gray, I need your help. Show me where Bradley's laboratory is. If we expose his criminal activities, the contract will be voided." Hearing this, he froze for a few seconds, then the corners of his mouth curved into an excited smile as he said, "Didn't you say it would be dangerous without evidence?" She let out a small sigh and replied, "We will find the evidence. I am putting my faith in you. Or rather, maybe I have believed you from the start. My eyes tell me you have been telling the truth all this time. It just took me a while to admit it." Then she turned and walked toward the door, saying, "Lead the way, Gray. We will expose his crimes together." At this moment, Anne spoke up to reveal the location of Balian's laboratory. His laboratory is in the mountain range near the village of Toruel. Hearing this, Ariel repeated, "Mount Toruel, huh? I clearly remember he has a laboratory approved by the academy there." This made Gray extremely puzzled. Is he conducting illegal experiments right in the approved laboratory? She nodded in confirmation. What place could be more convenient for illegal activities? Even if he has been there for a long time, no one would suspect a thing. Moreover, no professor at the academy would interfere with someone else's laboratory. As long as we find evidence of his crimes, no one will blame us for breaking in. From outside the door, a knock sounded, and the person outside spoke, "It is me, Bella." Hearing this, Ariel immediately responded, "Come in." Bella stepped in, holding a letter in her hand, and said, "Professor, I received this letter." She then approached to take the letter. Knowing for sure what was written inside, she turned around and left, speaking reassuringly, "Don't worry, I will handle this." Bella asked in confusion, "What do you mean?" Then the girl asked, "Professor, are you planning to confront Balian because of me? All by yourself?" She pondered for a few seconds, then turned back, looked at her, smiled, and replied, "One person is enough me." Hearing these words still made Bella extremely worried. She directed her gaze toward Gray. Bella was standing to the side. Then he stepped forward and said, "Please wait a moment. I will go with you too." Bella stepped up from behind, her voice resolute, "Me too. After all, this is my matter." She immediately turned around and reminded, "Hold on, he is a professor at the academy. Not to mention, he is a madman who has conducted dangerous human experiments multiple times. If he catches either of you, no one knows what he will do. I can't let you two risk going there." Before she could finish her sentence, Gray approached and reassured, "That is exactly why going alone is even more dangerous. If I use the power that defeated the Orc General again, it can certainly help you to some extent. Moreover, if you disappear as a direct admission student with divine eyes, I will be expelled. So please let us decide our own fate." The resolute eyes of them appeared in her glasses. At this point, she helplessly sighed and replied, "It seems no matter how I try to stop you, you two will come along anyway." "Fine then, but you must promise me one condition. No matter what happens, put your own safety first." "Understood." Gray and Bella replied in unison, "Yes, we understand." And so, time passed quickly. The three of them had dragged each other to Balian's laboratory. Looking at the enormous building in front of them, Bella was the first to speak. "Is he really conducting illegal experiments here?" Hearing this, the professor girl nodded and answered, "Yes. Now we will search for evidence, right?" His eyes looked at the laboratory ahead, nodded, and replied, "Yes, this is definitely the place." Bella said, "If you have said so, then I will believe you. But can we gather evidence without causing any trouble?" Ariel continued, "Balian is currently at the Magic Society conference. He is not here. The main door is highly likely to have traps, so we will have to break through the side wall to get inside." This made the girl Bella extremely puzzled. "Is that okay?" Gray replied, "Breaking into an approved laboratory is already a crime. So it does not matter. If you change your mind, you too can turn back." Bella gripped her staff tightly, her voice determined, "I will go." Then the little one turned to ask her, "Are you really sure? You are doing all this just for someone like me?" Gray beside her explained, "Wrong. Stopping his experiments is for the whole world. If not, countless people will die. No, the entire world will be offered as a sacrifice by him." These horrifying crimes made Bella extremely puzzled. "What?" Ariel reassured, "What Gray said might sound a bit exaggerated. But I agree that he must be stopped. So do not worry too much. We are not risking our lives just for you, Bella. Now, let us go." With that, the three of them dashed forward at an extremely fast speed. As they moved, Ariel created countless magic circles. Then countless attacks headed toward the wall ahead, striking it and creating a massive, violent explosion that sent smoke and dust flying everywhere, with rocks and debris scattering in all directions. Looking at the barrage of attacks just now, Gray slightly frowned and thought to himself, "That is way too over the top, haha." After that, the three of them approached to assess the situation inside. But then Gray discovered something. His eyes suddenly froze and he said, "What is this?" Inside was an extremely vast hallway, looking like a prison with rooms lined up closely together, surrounded by iron doors. Inside were countless people imprisoned here. Their condition at this moment was utterly exhausted, with blood strewn all over the floor. Venturing deeper inside, Ariel observed for a while and then exclaimed, "It seems we do not need to search for evidence at all." Bella beside her exclaimed, "There are so many." Ariel affirmed, "Just a glance, and I have seen 14 types of forbidden arts, which are already serious crimes. Not to mention unauthorized human experimentation is no less severe." Then everyone's eyes collided with something. It was a vast open space with a magic circle in the center, along with countless candles placed around it. Gray asked in confusion, "What is that? It looks like some kind of altar." Bella asked, "What should we do? The original plan was to get evidence and leave, but should we rescue the people locked up here?" He immediately turned back and reminded, "We can't stay here too long. If we are delayed, Balian might return." Before he could finish his sentence, at that moment a voice rang out from behind, "Oh, are you calling for me?" A dark figure behind them had appeared without anyone knowing when. Balian slowly walked toward them. Ariel at this moment still maintained a calm attitude and asked, "How was your conference, Balian?" He at this moment still calmly approached them. But in contrast, Gray and Bella had entered combat stance. He wondered and cursed inwardly, "Balian, why is he here right now?" Balian said, "I sent a substitute there. I have a more important experiment to do here." Ariel was extremely puzzled. A more important experiment? Balian glanced at the prison rooms on both sides and nodded in confirmation, "Yes. I just acquired some fresh new resources. So I had to make use of them while they are still fresh." In a room nearby, countless corpses were hung in rows inside. Then he looked at Ariel with a cold voice and said, "But I have changed my plans." This made everyone direct their astonished gazes toward him. He continued, "Anyway, I want materials with magical potential far surpassing ordinary people. I do not know how you learned about my experiments. But you certainly have not told anyone that you are coming here. Right, if all of you suddenly disappear, no one will suspect me, haha." His utterly mad eyes looked toward Gray's group. Ariel looked at him coldly and firmly. Materials, don't tell me you are planning to use us as lab rats. Gray immediately spoke to reassure, calm down. Your sacrifice will push the boundaries of magic to new heights. Since I can't let you leave here alive, I will make the best use of you. As soon as his words ended, a massive fireball flew from afar right in front of his face, leaving him utterly stunned. Immediately after, a huge explosion erupted before everyone's eyes. Ariel unexpectedly glanced at the little girl Bella. It turned out that attack came from her. As the smoke and dust cleared, they were in for another surprise. Balian praised repeatedly, haha, splendid. Truly splendid. This attack caused no damage whatsoever. Because he had used protective magic beforehand. His voice turned extremely cold. Divine-eyed Ariel has not lost her edge. I never expected someone with special admission like you to be such an outstanding genius. Perhaps I need to observe the divine-eyed candidates more closely. It is not that I am impressed by your little trick. A student at the academy daring to assassinate a professor. Bella gripped her staff tightly, her voice resolute. I would rather kill than be killed. Even if I just missed my chance. Ariel turned to everyone and said, let us retreat for now. We already have the evidence. The rest can be handled by the academy. Just as they were about to leave, a few strands of dark mana appeared on Gray's staff. He spoke, you think I will let you walk away unscathed? Immediately, he unleashed a colossal magic orb toward the little girl Bella. Ariel rushed from behind in front of her, using protective magic to block the attack with incredible speed. Ariel's eyes were now highly focused, not a hint of distraction. On the other side, Balian mocked, it is useless. This is one of my research achievements, Devouring Flame. It releases flames that swallow defensive magic and turn it into fuel. As he said, small cracks began appearing on Ariel's protective magic layer. Soon after, the cracks spread even wider. Gray continued, in theory, it can't be stopped. Its only weakness is that it requires rare materials to activate. At the moment his attack was about to pierce through the protective layer, a glint of determination flashed in Ariel's eyes. She created another magic shield to block the incoming attack. But Balian's attack was immensely powerful. In just a few seconds, it began cracking the second protective layer. Ariel turned to remind Bella, hand the magic memory box to Gray. If Heathkit sees it, he will know what to do. Looking at the box in her hand, Bella thought for a few seconds before slamming her staff hard into the ground, creating another protective magic that shielded all three of them. Seeing the girl not leaving, Ariel turned back and shouted, what the hell are you doing? Get out of here now. Bella, there is no way to leave in this situation. She said, Professor, your barrier is about to break. This time, let me handle it. Ariel knew that no matter how hard they tried, they could not defeat Balian at this point. So she shouted, we promised before coming here. If anything happens, you must put your life first. Balian's magic is clearly abnormal. Defense can't stop it. I will buy time for you, so. Before she could finish, her protective layer was shattered by Balian's dark power. She looked ahead with utter astonishment. But from behind, Bella encouraged, it is okay, Professor. Though the attack was extremely powerful, this time it could not penetrate Bella's protective layer. She explained, this spell is not that strong. It just needs a slightly different type of defensive magic. Seeing them block his attack, Balian shouted in rage, impossible. The emission theory for devouring flame is known only to me. How do you know it? Bella replied casually, someone recently taught me a new theory. With that, this spell becomes much easier. Balian gritted his teeth. Someone taught you, who is he? Name that traitor. Do it, and I will let you die peacefully. Bella continued, you want to know who taught me, but that is a secret. That person is a student in the swordsmanship department. The person she mentioned was none other than Gray. And she had pieced it together after countless failures. Seeing the girl had no intention of revealing, Balian gritted his teeth. So you won't answer seriously, fine then. Burn for me. Holding a red magic stone in his hand, he crushed it into pieces. Then countless souls summoned by Balian rushed forward, adding power to his attack. Now reinforced, his magic attack almost gained sentience. It transformed into a demon with a massive mouth, continuously charging toward Bella. Seeing this, Gray from behind asked, Bella, are you okay? Bella replied, I am fine. This barrier can still hold. But Balian on the other side smiled, But your mana won't last, right, with your reserves. How much longer? Maybe 1 minute at most. Bella directed her weary gaze toward the professor in front and said, Professor, attack him now. I am busy defending. Understanding the girl's intent, Ariel nodded, got it. Her eyes regained determination once more. Looking at the attack before her, she thought, the flame seems thinner over there. I can release magic outward, bypassing the world. Without hesitation, she extended her hand forward, firing a small beam of magic. After piercing through the magic barrier, she amplified its power, creating a blinding lightning bolt that struck straight at Balian. But the closer the attack got to him, the more the lightning gradually dissipated into the air and vanished completely. From his side, Balian mocked, planning a counterattack. You can't even touch me. Gray, standing nearby observing the attack, thought, if I remember correctly, Professor Ariel's technique is the weakest among the faculty. With the nature of this flame, it is definitely absorbing her magic. Seeing the attack ineffective, Bella from behind said wearily, what do we do now? I am almost depleted. Her eyes grew dim, her body trembling, but she still gripped her staff tightly to stand firm. Ariel turned back and scolded, this is why I told you to run earlier. But then Gray suddenly stepped forward, surprising the professor greatly. He gripped his sword tightly and said, leave this to me. Seeing him face the monster Balian alone, Bella grew extremely worried. Gray, what are you doing? From here, your sword can't reach him. He had already calculated in his mind and turned back to reassure. It is fine. I am sure I can do it. Ariel asked in confusion, are you sure? Using that power again could kill you. Even if you survive, your healing arm might never recover. The corners of his mouth curved into an excited smile. Dying alone is better than all three of us dying, right? Observing from outside, at the center of the attack, a blinding hole of light appeared, as if about to burst outward. Immediately, Gray broke through the encirclement, charging outside to face Balian standing there. Without hesitation, he swung his sword decisively. With a single strike, he easily took Balian's head in his stunned gaze. Witnessing the scene that unfolded in mere seconds, Bella's eyes widened in shock. She let out a small scream. Balian's body then collapsed to the ground like a kite with its string cut. Seeing this, Ariel could not help but be surprised. She said, this is the first time I have witnessed it with my own eyes. But it is overwhelming. The slash not only sent Balian to the other world but also nearly cleaved the entire bunker in two. At that moment, from the ceiling above, a few chunks of earth and stone began falling to the ground, followed by a large slab of rock about to crash down, making Bella jump and shout, the ceiling. Ariel immediately stepped forward to handle the issue. She glanced up and praised, wow, that is unexpected. As soon as she stepped up, countless invisible threads shot out to hold the falling stones. She exclaimed, good heavens, this exceeds my expectations. Nevertheless, she turned to Gray and asked, are you okay? At that instant, the sword in his hand suddenly dropped to the ground. Looking at his trembling hand, Gray said, my right arm hurts a bit. And it is a little numb too. But I can still move it. He bent down to pick up his sword and sheathed it. Noticing this change, Ariel breathed a sigh of relief. It seems your training has paid off. Gray nodded in agreement, looks like it. If it were the old me from the village using it, I would have passed out for days. Upon waking, I would have no arm left. Now it just hurts a little. Isn't that huge progress? Those grueling training days were truly worth it. Noting that his arm was no longer trembling, she paused for a few seconds before saying, thanks to you, we are still alive, but I am sorry for making you use that power. He waved his hand, please do not worry. I was the one who insisted on stopping Balian in the first place. She approached and said, thank you. But if possible, try not to use that power for a while. Otherwise, the damage might become irreversible. Understanding the issue, his expression grew solemn as he replied, I understand. From behind, Bella stepped forward shyly, sorry. Was that magic just now? I did not sense any ether at all. Explaining that power as magic was impossible. Not wanting it exposed, Ariel interrupted, sorry, but I hope you won't ask more about this. And do not tell anyone about what you saw today. This made Bella extremely puzzled. Why? Ariel explained, if you can't promise me that, I will have to erase your memories of today. Ariel's firm words terrified Bella. She stammered, I understand. Shall we make a magic contract then? Ariel nodded, exactly. A contract force immediately appeared before them. Their names were signed to confirm it. Gray glanced around the room and asked, "What now? I am worried about the experiments, but first, we should help these people. They seemed only under sleep magic." Ariel released her hand. "Though not dangerous, we should take them to the Academy's medical area for safety." As she finished, golden light emanated from the rooms. They were enveloped in protective barriers. Ariel explained, "I will set protective barriers to prevent external harm. Now it is done. Let us investigate deeper." This place was truly insane. Illegal experiments everywhere, nearly all involving human sacrifices for magic catalysts or enhancing human magic. No purifier-related experiments. Maybe at another facility. Gray stroked his chin, thinking, strange. This was where the event killing tens of thousands happened in my old world. Could ordinary magic catalysts cause such catastrophe? Then realization hit. Wait, what killed everyone was tidal energy surging from underground. Seeing him freeze in thought, Ariel turned curiously. "What is wrong?" Bella called his name. His eyes fixed on the floor, muttering, "If so, is there something below?" He suggested to the professor, "There might be something underground. Possibly a secret passage." Following his words, Ariel scanned the floor but saw nothing unusual. "I do not see any hidden paths." But she spotted something and hurried forward. "Wait." She approached an area, knelt, eyes flashing. She observed, "It is faint, but I sense short-range teleportation traces here. Likely a space accessible only by teleportation. Based on traces, about 300 meters below something's there." Gray asked, 300 meters underground, can we get there?" Ariel, uncertain, "I can use short-range teleportation. Let me try." She created a magic circle like a portal. If nothing's there, the other side leads to solid rock. They entered without hesitation. Exiting the portal, all three froze at the sight. "What is this?" The underground space was vast, like a miniature city. Ariel was stunned. "I never imagined such a massive space below." Bella sensed something. "I feel enormous ether everywhere. Especially from that direction." She pointed to a giant pillar room, different from others. Ariel sensed too, but not just ether. Another energy, completely unlike magic, leaking from there. Stronger than anything I have seen. Seeing her reaction, he said, "Could that other energy be?" She nodded, "Yes. That is the purifier's power."